Yeah, hi Diego, good to see you again.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to this call. So yeah, if you could introduce your business and yourself for the benefit of the podcast.
Of course. So I'm Diego. I'm Diego Parra. I am from Cali, Colombia, currently based in Medellin, which is the second largest Colombian city. Right now, I lead Elisa App, which is a prop tech platform that currently has about 51,000 properties registered in the platform and is used by about 2,500 real estate professionals. And what Elisa App does is that it helps real estate agents to manage everything that has to do with the state of the physical state of the properties that they rent and manage. And so through our mobile app and web panel, they can do everything that they have to do around repairing and managing everything that has to do with the state of the property. So yeah, that's in a nutshell.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. So yeah, it sounds like quite a lengthy development to build something that you have today. And I have done a bit of a look, and obviously we've spoken before. So can you talk to me about the journey of how you came to developing this and how you're in this position today?
Absolutely, right. So I started my journey in real estate in 2013. Back then, I started working as a real estate agent in my family's real estate business in Cali. Initially, I started working as a rental agent. So I was looking at properties that were available in the market, trying to get in contact with the owner of that property, selling the service and then proposing our services to help them rent the property in a better way. Then I managed to roll into that position for quite a bit of time. Then I became the leader of the rental side of the real estate agency. And so at that time, the agency was essentially trying to figure out how to scale up our operation an efficient way. So I essentially, with the tools that were available back then, were trying to organize a bit better the bookings of all the operations that the rental side of the agency were doing. And so we were just fiddling around with some small software developments that we did in the website with some plugins of the framework we were using.
Mm.
So we were trying to just improve a bit better our operation. But at that time, we're talking 2015, there was not a lot of technology available. So you had to kind of figure out how to do things in a better way because everything was done by paper. We literally had at the welcoming desk of the agency a book where all the appointments were booked.
Yeah.
So every agent had to get there and then see what their afternoon looked like or what the next morning was looking like. And then, of course, that was a very inefficient way to uh, get an operation of that scale. But that's how probably 99% of the agencies in the world were working at that time because there was almost no technology available.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of my introduction to technology in the real estate. So at that point, I realized that if we were implementing more technologies, we're going to be more efficient in the way that we were going to be doing our operation. So some months went by, and then there was a position in the agency where my mom, who is the CEO, offered me the opportunity to lead all the commercial sales and rentals of the agency, together with the development of new real estate projects. So yeah, I took the role to lead basically all the commercial side of the agency. We developed a few real estate projects from the ideation, construction, commercialization, and transaction period of the projects. And also, I was just trying to get more technologies applied to everything we're doing. But again, there was nothing very well developed at that time.
Yeah.
So in 2018, I decided to basically look at all the issues that we were having at the agency. And we basically figured out that the biggest problem we were having that was costing us more money was managing the state of the projects that, of the properties we were having in the agency. Because let's say that you own a property, you give it to us for managing, and then you give it flawless, nothing is wrong with it, everything is beautiful. I take it from you and I say, okay, I'll get you a tenant. I get your tenant and I say, yeah, we got a tenant. Now you're going to start getting your rent every month. 2 years go by, and then you just say, okay, I want my property back because I'm going to move in or whatever.
Yeah.
Then we get the tenant out, and then when the tenant moves out, then the property is completely destroyed. So of course, there's going to be a huge financial and service problem for everybody, even legally, because of course the owner of the property wants his property well. He doesn't want to get a property destroyed, and that was the case for most of the properties that were rented for 10 years, 5 years, whatever, even a year, because there was nothing really to say like strictly how the property was. We were doing a checkout and a check-in process by paper, but it's just saying like floor good state. What
Yeah.
does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. So of course that was a huge issue.
Mm.
And so that being the biggest problem that we were facing, my sister, who lives in Europe, she was at that time living in France,
Mm.
and basically she told me that when she rented her property at that time, she got an inventory in a tablet. So the
Okay.
agent came, did a check-in, and then they took a bunch of pictures, and she said it was great. So I said, okay, I want to look at it. I looked at this property. Management platform that was able to track all of this information. And I essentially just brought the idea into reality. So I created Elisa app together with the help of my mom and the company itself, and also together with a friend of mine who's called Hugo. He was the co-founder of the agency
Mm.
of the platform. Because at that time I had not a lot of knowledge about technology. I didn't really know how to develop anything. He had a previous experience in software development. So he helped me to structure better what we were doing. And we worked together for a couple of years. And then in 2020, I decided to jump full time into Elisa App. So I left my role at the real estate business of my family and went full time into Elisa App. I bought the other half of the company from my co-founder because he was not going to go full time in it. So we decided to just make a price for it and run with it. So yeah, that was 2020 in February 2020, which was pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I decided to take the biggest leap of faith of my life, and then boom, pandemic hit. So you can imagine the reaction of everybody was like, "You screwed up. You made the worst decision of your life." And I was like, "Damn
Yeah.
it!" But it wasn't. It was actually great because, of course, most real estate businesses were trying to work remotely. They can't go to the office. They still wanted to operate their business. So what best tool than something that helps them do their business remotely and from their app? So yeah, that was essentially how everything kind of started to roll organically. From then on, the company has managed to grow into different markets. Of course, our main market is Colombia. We here operate in more than 120 cities where our clients have properties. Also, we have a small operation in Chile, in Mexico, and now we're breaking into the Spanish market where we're trying to figure out and understand how the market works. And yeah, that's pretty much how we got into the business side of it. Of
Yeah.
course, there is a huge side of it around technology because, I mean, of course, developing technology is not easy at all. Even if you do know a lot about the technology, and I'm not a technical founder, I just kind of try to figure out everything around the business and try to do as better as possible. But we have like my main goal was always to hire good people and people that were able to commit themselves into doing their part of the business in a good way. And right now we are a very efficient team. We're a very small team that managed to run an operation with 2.5K users, which is not easy, of course, but our goal is that the technology works so well that everything is so them easy to use. So everybody is going to use it in a very efficient way so they don't have to get as much support as possible. And yeah, we're very proud to say that most of our users are very, very happy with it. We have an internal rate of satisfaction of our users, which measures after every transaction they do, how they did with the app. And they measure from 0 stars to 5 stars. And the lifetime average since we started recording this metric about a year and a half ago is 4.54% at the closing of November. So that's great. We take pride in saying that we develop very good technology for the operation of our clients and our users to be as good as possible. So yeah.
Definitely. Okay. Okay. No, sounds great. And we will get into the expansion side of things, but I want to initially talk about that first case study of using it in the family business. So
Mhm.
obviously there's going to be the benefits on the operational effectiveness, but what is the hidden boost that came off the back of, okay, well now everything is systematized, it's all on a platform. What did that how did that affect the business growth?
All right. That's a great question. So we had an agreement with my mom that until the app was not working perfectly, we're not going to release it to the other members of the team internally in our agency. So I was going myself to try the app every time. So when we had a check-in inventory to do or inspection to do, then I was going myself together with the agent to do everything together. And it was awful. It was, of course, like an app that has never been tested in the field. It's going to be running into a lot of bugs that you don't really expect that they're going to be there. The user experience has never been tried. So we did,
Mm,
I think maybe between 20 and 30 inventories myself before I gave it to someone else because I just wanted to work very closely with the developer we had hired to do everything. So yeah, it was just a lot of, doing something, doing it in the field, changing, collecting feedback, and then just doing this feedback loop over and over and over and again. And of course, it was taking my life, because of course I was, you know, changing the process that was taking maybe an hour for a small apartment to 4 or 5 hours because I was, doing the inventory in the phone I had, and then the app just, bugged out. It was not working anymore. We just went white, and I was like, okay, so now what? So I had to call the developer. Man, this thing is not working. What can I do? Oh, just a sec. So try to
yeah.
do something about it, and then it was just like, taking two pictures, and then the picture didn't save, and then it was just a lot of that. So at that time we just wanted to try the business side of it, so if it made sense to actually do something like that. And finally, after a lot of headaches and long afternoons and mornings doing inspections with an app that didn't really work, we had something stable that had to finally be able to give it to someone else to try. So yeah, I just give it to other people internally, and then they were, also giving a lot of feedback, bad feedback all the time. This is not working. I'm
Yeah.
taking 5 pictures, and then the thing just, bugs out and it's not running anymore. So I was always sending them with a piece of paper in case the app didn't work, which was like 95% of the cases, until we managed to just improve it over and over and over again. And then after probably about 6 months of internal trials. I still have a great friend, David, who owns, together with his brother Santiago, a real estate agency from Century 21. They're one of the largest franchise in Cali, which is the city I'm from.
Yeah.
And they initially told us like, okay, we want to use it, but you have to do it. So I kind of went to do their inventories for free.
Yeah.
And then, they said like, if we are convinced with the app, then we're going to pay you for it. So, I just wanted to try it out. I had, like that was my goal to make this thing work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like my role at that time was of course to lead all the commercial side of the agency, but I was just running into, maybe 2 hours of ops of the agency where everything was kind of anyway running by
Yeah.
itself, and then spending the rest of my day on this tool that I wanted to throw down the toilet a million times, but I didn't want to give up because I was like, okay, this has to work somehow. So yeah, that was just like, collecting feedback over and over, and then they finally started to pay us something very small. And then another Century 21 agency from Bogota, Luis Miguel Pachon, and he owns a Century 21 Maxi Bienes. They are again the largest agency of Century 21 in Bogota. And with them, we managed to also try things in another city now remotely because now they have a bigger operation. The app
Yeah.
had already some better feedbacks, so we were able to have a better stable tool. And so yeah, we essentially just run free with it, and then more users started to use it for free for a few months. And then when things were okay, we started to charge a small amount, and yeah, then the business started to develop. Then I needed help. So I hired a salesperson
Mm.
to help me manage all the business side of it, customer support, all of that. So yeah, I started to develop the team like this. And as the team became more fluent, now I had a developer who was full-time, a person that was helping me with sales and customer support. I was able to think further, like what can we improve in the app and if this technology is the right one. So yeah, after a bunch of mistakes and try and error, everything started to grow, and then you start to face different problems, which is something that you expect never to happen in a software business when you don't know anything about software. And it's that you need good developers. I had no idea about how to hire, so I hired bad developers over and over and over again. And my experience in that side was very bad. So I tried to get as much education as possible from the resources that I had available.
Mm.
Yeah, right now, of course, we have everything set up, and the story sounds pretty easy to tell, but it's a lot of that. It's just doing something, giving it to the users, and then collecting feedback of how the user thinks this thing is using or working for them, and then just going back to the initial side of it, and then improving, going back, and then this never ends. We still do it all the time. We are about to release a repairing management tool for the app that is going to be released to all our users after a trial period that we have been doing for about a month with a small amount of users. And that helps us to understand how we should be doing things better. We can't release things for everybody at the same time, because if everything goes well, then great, but the chances are very low that everything is going to go well. In software, you have several mobile phones, you have several operating systems, you have several connection instances. There is a bunch of things that could go wrong, and they will go wrong. So it's better to try a small amount of people, 100 people trying something, than measuring how things are going. We, of course, now have a lot more resources at our disposal to track how the app is performing. Because before it was just kind of like people have to tell us what's going wrong. Now we have a tool that is telling us this went wrong, we have to fix it, and the user probably just sees an issue for a minute, and then we fix it immediately. So everything is a lot easier, but it's through trial and error that everything went to where it is today.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so it sounds like that same frustration that you had at the start where you were doing it all yourself, going and testing it. You still have that as the journey goes on, and you'll still have that same frustration as time goes by. It's just to a larger scale and bigger
Mhm.
problems that come up. So that,
Yeah, I think it's a combination of everything. It's like right now the issues that I face are completely different to the issues I faced at the beginning. At the beginning, the frustration I was having was literally going myself and trying something in
mm,
the field, and that's something I'm rarely doing. Like that's why you hire a team, because you need people to help you with that. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to scale. Right now, we have 18 investors, so I have investors to respond to. I have bigger clients that I need to attend to meetings to, explain them things. And that's, just part of the job. Now you have to manage a team, and then a team has to run in an efficient way. So you have to look at your resources in a very specific way for the company to operate. So yeah,
mm,
I am very mindful of how things are in the sense of the operation, because if I'm not efficient in managing the whole machine of the structure that we manage, then the app is never going to work out. The clients are not going to be happy. So yeah, it's just, right now it's a small company still. We are still at a very early stage, but we're proud to say that we have figured out things that a lot of companies are still racing round after round after round, and kind of never figuring out how to build a real team. Because today the developer that is working at the low level tomorrow will be his boss's boss, because they raised a bunch of money, so they have to move things around as quickly as possible, and the side of the operation suffers a lot as a consequence. So that's why you see all these layoffs and these moving parts in this venture capital world
mm,
that we don't want to be part of. We want to be part of a stable, sustainable growth, and
mm.
sustainable company and sustainable team. That's my biggest goal in
Yeah,
general.
definitely. Yeah, and I have so I explain it as to my team or other people that I speak to that are maybe starting off in the business journey, that there's always the wall that you've got to climb over that is just out of reach. And then as soon as you climb over that wall's easy to climb over, but then there's the next bigger one, but they always feel that same distance of challenge. So it always feels like, okay, this is the hard part. This is the challenge. Once I fix this, then it will be easy. And then the next wall reveals itself. But that's the beauty of starting a business and the challenge. It's always that next challenge comes up, and they never, looking back, you say, oh, that's easy compared to what I'm doing now. But then, in a year's time, you're going to be looking back at the challenges that you're facing now, saying, well, that was easy. What I'm facing now is hard. So it's never ending. Which
I think that there is a lot of there's a huge side of around experience,
mm,
because if you don't allow yourself to make the mistakes that are going to teach you how to not do things, then you're never going to know. Like I didn't know how to hire a developer. I did a bunch of mistakes. So I learned how not to develop people.
mm,
So it comes from making, the wall over and over and over and over again until you realize that, maybe, this wall that I'm seeing, maybe it's not as big as I thought it was. So then you kind of face it in a different way. A lot of the times, of the challenges that you will face when you're starting a business is that you think that you'll never get through the amount of things that you need to be doing.
yeah.
But just by looking at the reality of life, you got 24 hours just like everybody else. You got a finite amount of energy, you got a finite amount of knowledge, you got a finite amount of resources at your disposal to do what you need to do. So it's just a matter of understanding what you should be actually doing to accomplish the things that you need to do. And I think that over process of making the mistakes that are going to show you how to do things, then it's going to make you better for the next time that you're going to face something. Like last time that we had a bit, like our biggest issue was last year. We were doing a refactoring of the app because we have done the platform 3 times now.
Mm,
So the last one we did was a complete refactoring. We basically built the whole app throughout the whole year. That was 2021 through 2023 February. Um, Pardon, March, February, March. Yeah, that was March. We released the new app without trying anything of this new app with users. And then at that time, we had about 1,200 users that their app was completely changed from one day to another.
mm,
And everything like that you can imagine went wrong. Like literally everybody hated the app. Nothing was working. The team was like, we did our best, but there was a very big mistake to launch things how we did.
mm,
So I mean, how could I know how not to do a release of a product if I've never done anything like that to 1,000 people? Now we are in our journey to make 3,000 users in the platform. So now I've got the experience of, okay, we're going to launch a new side product, which is the repairing center that is going to help people, tenants especially, to report what's wrong in the property. Then they can send it to the owner and then to the person who's going to make the repair, and then manage everything through the platform inside of the inspection form. So at the checkout, they can look at all of this.
yeah.
And I never would have done this such an efficient way with a team if I had never screwed up so badly with the mistakes we did in the past. So now I don't see it as a challenge. I just see like, okay, I'm excited. We're going to launch this new thing. So let's prepare before we start writing a line of code how this thing is going to perform at the end. So
Mm,
we plan out our schedule. Okay, we're going to go into the ideation phase. So what are we going to do? We're going to do this, that, that. Then
yeah.
we're going to tell our users, look, we want to develop this. Can you tell us what you think about it? So they tell us a bunch of ideas around it. They want to have this, they want to have that. They would prefer to have X amount of things. And then we go and develop a small prototype that it's a functional thing. It doesn't have any code in it. It's just an interface for
Mm,
people to have the experience of playing with it. It's a low level prototype. Then
mm,
they see it, they say, okay, that's what I would like to have. So then if they say that's what they want, Then we go and develop a better structure graphically. Then we show it again. And then, is that what you want? They say, yeah, that's what we want. Okay, now let's write code. Then we write code. Then when the code is working, then we say to some users, okay, look, we did what you wanted. Here it is. Can you try it for a few weeks? And then they try it. They give us feedback. And then we just come back to the same point of, trying things, improving, going back to the drawing board, improving things. And then, that will just give us experience to make a full release to thousands of people from one day to another in an efficient way. And how did we get there? Just by knowing how not to do things because of the mistakes we did.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. And that then ties into, okay, well, now any new launch you're not so worried about, but then if you're launching, well, you said you're launching into Spain, right? So this is something. Obviously, you've gone into new markets before, but it's going into a market further away geographically. So yeah, then it's that will be a new lesson in itself, right? So
Yeah.
interesting.
So that's well, the thing about launching new markets, you would think there is a lot of changes in the way that people rent properties, but it's the same transaction. Like there is an owner, there is a property, there is a tenant, and then there is a real estate agent. They have some tweaks in the wording they use, like maybe they call it one way than another. That's, normal. It happens everywhere. It happens in the US, with the UK, with Australia, in the English language. For us, it's the same thing. It's the same Spanish language, but we still have to develop things in a way that is functional to everybody when we launch there. But it's essentially the same thing, it's the same transaction, it's the same problems over and over, we're at the end just, a bunch of monkeys trying to figure out a way to live together. So it's the same thing that we have to do in every single country we launch. Eventually, we'll scale to different languages. I guess that will be a different challenge. But yeah, I think it's just the same principle of trying things and picking up feedback very quickly.
Brilliant. Okay. Yeah, fine. So can you share with us what markets you're in at the moment geographically? So what countries you're working in?
So that's Colombia, Chile, Mexico, and Spain.
Perfect. Okay. And so you touched on it there. Everyone, it's similar in the process and everything like that. But do you find that between the different countries, the adoption rate of using tech is different? Like some countries require more education as to why this is beneficial. Some are already using some sort of technology, and you're fighting against competitors. Is do you experience any of that?
Right. So I think the advancements of technology worldwide are rapidly increasing in the sense that, for example, the mobile phones that our users were using 5 years ago are completely different to the ones that they use now. So, for example, for us, it will be easier to penetrate markets right now because the technology is available, network coverage for the mobile phones that people are using, the technologies that we use internally, they're all better in general, right? So that's just going to incrementally make it easier for platforms like ours and other competitors that are in the market, and essentially every software company, to be able to reach better and more efficiently other markets.
Mm,
So one thing that, of course, is very important to keep in mind when you're going to expand into other countries is the fact that if you don't really have a plan of how you're going to do things, chances are that you're going to run into a bunch of trouble. Like the first time we launched in Chile, which was 2 years ago, we didn't know how to do anything legally. Like we didn't know we had to do, for example, terms and conditions based on the laws of Chile. So we had to we launched and then they asked us in a call, like, are you complying with the Data Protection Act that we have here? And we're like, maybe not, let us check. And we weren't. So of course that's not something that you should be doing right now. Like you shouldn't take it lightly because data protection
mm,
acts, they're very strict everywhere, so if you're going to open a platform for a lot of people to use in many countries, then it's going to face a lot of issues that
mm.
you could even face some legal actions against you for not complying, So yeah, that's just, again, it's just experience of, getting into the drawing board and saying, okay, if we launch in Chile, we made these mistakes. Now let's launch in Mexico. So how is the Mexico market? It's like that. The dynamics are this. The market size is whatever it is. Then the Spanish, it will be the same thing, So it's getting every time easier and better because we know how to do things. It's just, like, for example, we like football, So if you're an experienced football player, then it will be easier to face higher competitions that you play in, And this is the same thing. If you are operating a local small business, one branch, then it's, easy to run. You just need to make sure that the croissants at that branch work out well. But then if you're scaling a nation-wide operation of, let's say, a bakery, for an example, which is something we have been talking about, then it's, it's a different challenge. And then the challenge becomes different. It's just, how do you hire people? How do you follow up processes? How do you make sure that everything is done in an efficient way? And it's not easy. It will never be easy. If it was easy, everybody would have a multinational company doing everything, but it's very difficult to get to a point. And also another thing, I don't know, I guess it's just, luck, you have to be in the right moment, the right time, you have to grind yourself down to the ground to do things very well. But, you might be in the right place. If I had started this business 10 years ago, maybe there had been no mobile phones to do this, maybe if someone starts right now, it would be easier to do anything, like we have a lot of tools right now to write better code, easier code, faster code. And that's their argument, like you still need to have a lot of thinking around what you're going to be doing because you can't delegate to AI everything and expect this is going to talk to your users and collect the feedback and do everything that you have to do. Maybe eventually, but I think there is a lot of understanding the human being behind the screen that is going to tell you how to do things.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And I'm curious on the side of like the market, the lay of the market at the moment. So obviously before, in your family's agency, they were using pen and paper, manual diaries, to keep track of everything. How much of the market are still using that same strategy today?
The largest majority of people are still using paper. It's a very slow old market. Even in the UK, there is platforms that are a lot older than we are, and
Mm.
the majority of people are still using pen and paper. First, because there is very few agencies that are formally created as a company. A lot of people who are working in real estate, they're in this business because they want to make money with it, and then they don't really look into how to improve their operation. Companies do. Bigger companies, of course, take a lot of the time to check what platforms could help them to be more efficient.
Mm.
But the formalized real estate market is very small. There is a lot of people who are in that market who are not properly trained. Maybe they have the license to practice, but they don't necessarily want to get a spending because they will see it as a spending. They will not essentially think as a company would do about implementation of technologies because they think it's going to be costing them, and it's going to cost them. Like if you're a solo real estate agent and you have to pay 100 quid in a platform, maybe that's 100 quid you can't use to pay whatever else you need to pay.
Mm.
So yeah, and that's the largest amount of the market. So it's overwhelmingly large the amount of people who are not really using technologies. But you have to offer, good prices, and you have to offer, good software and easy software for people to do it. And eventually, maybe you'll get to a point where everybody is using it. But it's just a process. We're talking about a 10-year technology side of business. The real estate business is, as old as the world. So of
Yeah.
course it's going to take years and decades before everything is done to that. But together with our problem, there is hundreds of problems in the real estate market that could also be fixed with technology that are not. So you can spend your life trying to fix everything, but I mean, you have one life, right? So
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And I think also you mentioned at the start or towards the start, obviously, was it your sister? I think that said about
yeah.
using the technology in France, to get like their inventory. How much do you look at other markets to decide if there's other good strategies to steal as such?
Right. So I think it's about, well, I think it's a two-side matrix that you need to look at. One is, of course, the amount of countries that you can work in, but
Mm,
then the other one is how many customers or how deep you want to get into this market, because you can have one customer in 200 countries and there'll still be 200 clients, you know? So why don't you get maybe 200 clients in one country? So I think that's a question that, you need to ask yourself when you're trying to generate your strategy towards the future, and be very mindful of the resources that you want to deploy into that operation.
mm,
Because I mean, of course, if you're a venture-backed company and you have a solid team and solid investors, then it will be easier to expand into several countries. But we're a small company that, we want to bootstrap our way up, and we're profitable. We're proud to be profitable, and
mm.
we want to continue like that. So if we're operating in 4 countries in 6 years of operation, if we get to 10 countries in 10 years, I think that'll be more than enough to do a lot of things. And for me, I'm not like looking at this business in a way that I want to eat the world. I don't care about that. I care about, just having a good life and giving a good life to the team that works for me.
Mm.
I prefer to, have a calm mind than to be thinking about responding to 7,000 investors. And, some people are happy with that. I don't want to do that. I don't necessarily want to even want to consider getting to a point where I can, have a weekend or have my time to watch Arsenal or, stuff like that. I didn't do that for a very long time, but now I know that that's not going to make me happy.
Mm,
It's business, like you're doing this because you want to finance a good life for yourself.
mm.
And if you don't have anything else outside of business, then when the business goes out because it sells or it goes bankrupt or it fusions with another company, whatever happens to it, then you're left with nothing. So for me, it's just about, enjoying what you're doing and try to make the best for it. And yeah, I mean, of course, you need to work towards something, because you can't just say, okay, the business is set and then I'm just going to lay back and do nothing. It's not about that. It's just that you need to be mindful of how much energy you can spend every day on doing something. And, if that means that we're going to be in 10 countries in 10 years and not in 150 countries,
Yeah.
fine for me. Like I prefer my health, my mental health, my physical health. I prefer to have friends that I can hang out and not have an emotional wreckage of people that I've not been able to respond messages to for the last 2 years because I'm too busy running my tech company. I did that already, and I know that's not happiness.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. No, that sounds good. So I've got two last questions for you, Diego. Um, One is a question from the last podcast. So the last prop tech CEO that we had on, and then the next question is going to be what you want to ask the next person. So the question from
Right.
the last podcast. So it's a prop tech CEO based out of Asia, and they are balancing at the moment between scaling up but wanting to develop more products. So the balance is whether they should look to more outsourced developers or build out more of the core team, and what your opinion is on that.
Right. Inside people all the way,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, like you have to have your team. You can't outsource your technology. That's a very bad idea. We did it for a bit and it was tremendously bad, because technologies are very different. Software is kind of like making art. So every single software that is written by a developer, even if you have documentation, once you change the developer, it's going to vary in the efficiency that this person can do maintenance to it. So if you have a team that is taking care of your software, everything is going to be dependent on these people. What if the team of this company changes, which is going to happen? Like these software companies that do outsourcing of software,
Mm,
they have people who are turning over all the time. So making that is going to be hard for any team to scale and to be efficient in maintaining their software. So I think hiring people indoor is going to be the best. And if you can hire locally, like my guess, is going to be better, because we're doing our best to bring people together as much as possible, like sharing, physical time together is going to bring better ideas. Just it's not the same. Connecting in a call, you're not going to be
Yeah.
engaged in the same way. So I don't necessarily like the idea of having an office. I think that's a retarded way of working in any single business that doesn't require customer service
Yeah.
physically, I mean, but you can still have a team that can be the same city or nationally together, and then you can bring them every quarter together for a brainstorming or just like a keep up process. But yeah, definitely having people in and do whatever you can or whatever it's at your disposal to keep these people happy and keep them for the long run, and everything will flow.
Definitely. Okay, so yeah, even if it costs more initially, it will save you a lot of time and money in the long run, of client
Mhm.
satisfaction, developing, keeping the team, less training, and everything like that. Okay,
100%.
yeah, makes sense. And yeah, what question do you have for the next guest on the show?
Right. Huh. So I look at it as if I was like kind of asking myself a question from another dimension. So I think something very important that I would like to ask the CEO is your team happy with what they're doing?
Okay, yeah, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, and how would you answer that?
Right. So yeah, I spend a lot of time thinking about that because, without a team, a company is just a piece of paper registered in the Chamber of Commerce.
Hmm.
So like we have a very generous package for our employees financially, of course. But we also, for example, we work 4.5 days a week. So we give a half day off to everybody whenever they want it. So at the beginning of every week, the week before, we have scheduled when everybody wants to be off. So we know that, for example, Tuesday afternoon, this person is not available because they're off,
Hmm.
and then we work around the week like that. So everybody has time in the week to do things because, of course, you need to go to the doctor. Maybe you need to go to the bank, or you need to, do some shopping. Maybe you want to go out on a little trip with your partner, whatever you want to do. So we do that, and that's something very important. Other thing we do a lot is that we are very generous in the holiday flexibility. So we essentially tell people like, look, this is the whole year, take your holidays whenever you want, and then just make sure that you have your weekends work out well so you can have longer periods of holidays. Because if you take, of course, your holidays working around around your weekends, it's going to be more days off, which is something that I want to offer. And finally, it's just being there for your people. I think as a leader, you need to be having a very good relationship with the people that you are working directly with, and then making sure that the people that are working with those people that report to you directly are also having these moments to check in. So we have a weekly call with the people that I work closely with, and everybody below them, well, air quotes, is also having a weekly check-in. And yeah, I think, well, we are very low. Well, like honestly, since I started the company, I've had only two people that have left the company, and neither of them have been because they are tired or anything. They just got better offers like pretty much. And the rest are just, people that maybe were not the right fit, or, things didn't work out between the personalities between the company, and that happens all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're very happy with the team I have. I love the people that work with me. I'm very confident that they're doing a great job. And for me, it's not an anxiety generating process. I have metrics. I have my board of metrics all day. Everybody reports what they are doing, and then we're seeing if things are not going right. Then we will see it every day, which is something that will also help your team to know how well they're doing their job. Because I think that's one of the issues that most business owners do, and is that they have a emotional way of feeling how their team are performing, but they don't really know in metrics how things are going. And that happens all the time. But I guess it's just things you need to figure out yourself.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, no, it's been a pleasure, Diego. So yeah, thanks for coming on, and yeah, speak to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.